Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation with us today. Let's play some sound bites dealing with this Bo Bergdahl issue. Rob, let's start with clip number 2. This is President Obama talking with Brian Williams of NBC, and again on the decision about to release these Gitmo prisoners in exchange for Bo Bergdahl, who now we all know is a deserter, and I would say almost certainly a traitor, almost certainly somebody who aided and abetted the enemies of the United States. We have the testimony from soldiers that talked about the increased accuracy of these ambushes, these IED attacks, these remotely detonating explosives, and we have testimony from the Taliban themselves saying, look, he taught us how to do that. He taught us how to turn a cell phone into a remote detonator for a bomb. He taught us how to improve the efficiency of our ambushes on American patrols. And they discovered that these IEDs were more accurate. They were doing more damage, more strategically located. So, and they attribute that to the information and intelligence they got from Bo Bergdahl. So this guy, not a hero, deserter at minimum, and very likely a traitor. So Brian Williams is asking him, look, what about this? And what about this decision to trade Bo Bergdahl, to trade this traitor for these terrorists? What kind of a, we look at that, you and I look at that and say that trade does not make any sense in any kind of rational universe, unless the purpose is to empty Gitmo. That's what President Obama wants to do, looking for some fig leaf, some excuse to empty Guantanamo Bay. And that's what I think ultimately is what this is all about. But here is Brian Williams, NBC, talking to President Obama about the release of Bergdahl.
On the subject of Bo Bergdahl, there is real confusion, and we're hoping you can clear up this one point that arose last night and today. What was the reason for not informing the 8 members of Congress who would customarily be informed by this?
Brian, I have to tell you the same thing that I've been saying for the last several days, which is we have a rule, a principle, that when somebody wears our country's uniform and they're in a war theater and they're captured, we're going to do everything we can to bring them home. And we saw an opportunity and we took it. And I make no apologies for it. It was a unanimous decision among my principals in my government.
So President Obama thinks it's his government. Unanimous decision on the part of my principals in my government. Now, he didn't say my administration. That would be one thing. He said my government. This is my government. My principles in my government. I don't know what happened to we the people, but apparently it just took wings and flew. Now, maybe he just misspoke, but it would be nice to have him clarify that. He hasn't. He still apparently believes this is his government, doesn't belong to we the people. And he says, look, our principle is if somebody wears the uniform, then you go get them. Well, Bo Bergdahl stopped wearing the uniform. That's the point here. He took it off. He left the uniform behind. He deserted. He went AWOL. So the principle of not leaving a soldier in uniform behind, that's a good principle. That's a great principle. Does not apply to Bo Bergdahl. He wasn't in uniform. He wasn't captured. If anything, he was rescued by the Taliban. According to villagers in Afghanistan, he walked into their village in this drunken stupor, and it was the Taliban that came and basically rescued him. Now, here's Jeanine Pirro. She's got a program on Fox News on Saturday night, and she's pretty wound up. Now, she's a former prosecutor, so she's in touch with the law and the Constitution, all that. Here's clip number 2, and listen to how direct she is, as if she were speaking directly to President Obama.
Mr. President, you didn't just release them. You unleashed them, and you alone will be responsible for the hell that will be unleashed on us. You have teed us up for death and destruction. And don't give me this hogwash that they're prisoners of war who have to be freed when we leave Afghanistan. They are not prisoners of war. The Taliban is not a country. They are enemy combatants who can be held indefinitely and should have been tried for their crimes. And as much as you want to take terms like Islamic extremist and jihad out of our lexicon, the war on terror is far from over.
And she wasn't done. She was just getting wound up. Here is clip 4.
You call yourself a commander-in-chief. But what commander-in-chief doesn't support a surge but sends in 40,000 troops anyway? What commander-in-chief reduces benefits to those in the military, closes the Veterans War Memorial, reduces the Army to pre-World War II levels, knowingly allows veterans to die in our hospitals, while replenishing the enemy in a time of war? Mr. President, you are destroying this country. You have diminished us on the world stage. You have trampled on the very laws that you swore to uphold. You are not a true commander-in-chief. We've impeached a president for lying about sex with an intern. Your actions, far more egregious, demand impeachment.
So that's Jeanine Pirro saying, look, you are destroying this country, President Obama. You're no longer a functional commander-in-chief. You are diminishing the stature of this nation on the world stage, and your actions demand impeachment. Now, clip 5, this is Andy McCarthy. He's the one that prosecuted the blind Sheikh Mohammed. He's in prison today because Andy McCarthy prosecuted him, the first World Trade Center bombing in 1993. So Jeanine Pirro asked Andy McCarthy, what about this impeachment business? Here's what Andy McCarthy says.
Yeah, I think it's about as shocking a dereliction of duty on the part of the commander-in-chief as you can imagine. The commander-in-chief of our armed forces is one of the things he's most responsible for is force protection. We've taken 5 of their most experienced, most implacably anti-American chief terrorists and given them back to the Taliban at a time when they're still on the battlefield trying to kill our men and women in harm's way. It's hard to wrap your brain around how he could do such a thing.
Well, you know, Andy, one of the things that I just talked about was the fact that these are enemy combatants and not prisoners of war, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, it's true that if we were at the end of the war, if the war was entirely over, you can't detain people any longer. But even by his own timetable, we're staying for 2 more years. So this business about, you know, you can't leave anyone behind. Who's leaving?
Well,
we're not leaving. Al-Qaeda's not leaving.
It is a global war on terror, to be honest with you. It's not just about Afghanistan, correct?
That's exactly. And these, talking about the global war on terror, you're quite right. These are some of the top jihadists. These are not like low-level Afghan natives. These are among the leaders of the global jihad.
And so Andy McCarthy says, look, there's no question that this is an impeachable offense. He's not that agitated about the about Obama's failure to observe that 30-day statutory period. He's not even sure that that's constitutional. But this business, this dereliction of duty by releasing enemy combatants while hostilities are still taking place, that is an impeachable offense. He didn't say it's traitorous, but it's pretty close to that. The vital point here, Andy McCarthy says, is that the president has returned 5 senior commanders to the Taliban and Haqqani network while those violent jihadist organizations are still conducting offensive attacks against American troops. And in Andy McCarthy's mind and mine, that is a high crime and misdemeanor. Back in 2, Focal Point AFR Talk.